When Ryan Caldwell pulled me into the private dining room of the restaurant, it felt like the entire world stopped moving. I could hear the soft music playing in the background, the clinking of silverware, the low hum of conversation. But the moment the door opened and the guests turned toward us, everything went silent. My name is Claire Morgan, and on the night of our 10th anniversary, I walked into a room full of 50 people with my left eye swollen shut. Purple and deep blue bruises covered half my face. A thin cut above my eyebrow had been bleeding on and off for hours. No amount of makeup could hide it. My hair was perfect, my dress was neatly pressed, but my face told a different story. Ryan tightened his arm around my shoulders, pulling me close to him as if we were stepping into a celebration we had been looking forward to for months. He smiled at everyone, a bright, confident smile, as if nothing about this moment was strange. As if a husband walking into a party with a wife who looked like she had been punched by a stranger was completely normal. Behind us, his sisters Jenna and Melissa drifted in with matching champagne glasses. Their eyes met over the rim of their drinks and they smiled, almost proud of the scene unfolding around them. People froze in place. You could see the shock ripple across their faces. Some guests gasped. Others covered their mouths. My mother stood up so fast her chair scraped loudly across the floor. My father looked like he had forgotten how to breathe. Ryan lifted his glass slightly and spoke in a cheerful tone. "I know what you are all thinking. Claire had a little accident while getting ready today." I swallowed hard. He was doing exactly what I knew he would do. He was giving everyone a version of the story he could control. But then he added something I had not expected, something that made the room tilt. "Actually, Jenna and Melissa helped teach her a little respect today." A few guests stared at him in disbelief. Others looked at me, then at the two sisters behind us. Jenna raised her glass again, smiling. Melissa laughed softly, almost like this was a well-rehearsed joke. But nothing about this was a joke. Nothing about this night was supposed to happen like this. And if I had known what was coming next, I might have run out the door instead of standing there frozen in place. 3 days before that night in the restaurant, I was standing in the middle of our kitchen surrounded by open notebooks, color-coded lists, and a spreadsheet I had printed out twice because the first copy had a crease I did not like. I wanted our anniversary dinner to be perfect. I wanted Ryan to look proud of me again. Somewhere inside, I still believed that if I did everything right, our marriage might feel normal for a moment. Planning was the only thing I could control. I had mapped out the seating chart, the menu, the lighting, and even the timing for when each dish should come out. I kept checking the list again and again, worried I had missed something small that could set him off. For months, Ryan had been on edge about everything I did. It started with little comments that felt harmless. Then he began checking my phone when I showered. At first I laughed it off, thinking he was being playful or protective. But soon he was scrolling through my messages, rereading conversations, asking why I used certain words. He said he needed to make sure I was not talking about our marriage to other people. Then came the clothes. Every time I left the house he had something to say. The skirt was too short. The sweater was too loose. The shoes did not match the image of a wife he wanted to present. I changed outfits 3 or 4 times some mornings before he finally nodded with approval. When I mentioned meeting an old coworker for coffee, Ryan accused me of trying to embarrass him by sharing private issues, so I canceled. After that, I stopped mentioning anyone altogether. His sisters began showing up more often, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. They never knocked. They walked straight in, wandered through my kitchen, opened my fridge, made faces at whatever I had cooked. Jenna once poked a fork into a chicken dish and asked if I planned to serve it to a dog. Melissa complained that the house smelled like dust and that I clearly did not clean enough. I tried to laugh with them. I tried to show them I was trying, but nothing was ever enough. 2 nights before the anniversary, Ryan invited his entire family for dinner. I spent the whole day preparing his favorite meal, scrubbing the house until my back ached, setting the table with the good dishes that I only used on holidays. I wore the dress he approved that morning. I curled my hair, put on soft makeup, practiced smiling in the mirror so I would not look tense. For a while, everything seemed fine. We sat down to eat. People were talking, the candles looked beautiful, the pasta came out perfect. I allowed myself to think the evening might actually go smoothly. Then Jenna said the chicken was dry. My hand began to shake as I poured wine into her glass. A few drops splashed onto her white dress. It was barely anything. A little red stain. But she reacted like I had dumped the entire bottle on her. She shot up from her chair and started yelling. "This dress cost $2,500. What is wrong with you? Are you incapable of doing anything right? I froze, still holding the bottle, feeling heat rush to my cheeks. I apologized over and over. I grabbed napkins. I offered to pay for dry cleaning, but nothing calmed her. Ryan did not defend me. He did not tell his sister it was an accident. He looked at me, disappointed, and said so carelessly, "Claire, do you realize how embarrassing this is?" His words stung far more than Jenna's shouting. The rest of dinner passed in a blur. I barely spoke. When everyone left, Ryan took a pillow and went to sleep in the guest room without a word. I lay alone in our bed, staring at the ceiling, telling myself it was just a bad night, that things would be better in the morning. I had no idea the worst was still coming. The next afternoon, the day before our anniversary, I drove across town to find a new dress. I used the last of the money I had saved from my teaching job. It was a deep navy gown with delicate beading along the neckline. Simple but elegant, the kind of dress I hoped Ryan would approve of without hesitation. I imagined walking into the restaurant looking calm and put together, proving to him that I could still be the wife he wanted. When I got home, I felt a flicker of pride carrying the shopping bag up the stairs. But the moment I opened the front door, that feeling vanished. Melissa was in the living room, sitting cross-legged on the couch with her shoes kicked off and her phone charging in the wall outlet. She lifted her eyes slowly, smirking. "New dress, trying a little too hard, aren't you?" I ignored her and went upstairs. I laid the dress carefully on the bed. Its beads shimmered under the light. For the first time in weeks, I felt like things might turn around. I went into the bathroom to wash my hands and take a breath. When I came back out, the dress was ruined. A long streak of bleach ran down the front like a white scar, eating through the fabric. The smell of cleaning chemicals filled the air. Melissa stood beside the bed holding a spray bottle with a careless little shrug. "Oops, I was trying to help clean the room. Guess that stuff is stronger than I thought." I stared at her, speechless. My throat tightened. That dress had cost $200. $200 I did not really have, and she knew it. I could see the satisfaction in her eyes. "Why would you do that?" I asked quietly. "Why do you hate me so much?" Melissa dropped the fake innocence instantly. "Because you are not good enough for Ryan. You never were, and you make our family look bad every time you open your mouth." The words pierced deeper than the ruined dress. I turned and walked downstairs, dress in hand, waiting for Ryan to come home. When he arrived an hour later, I showed him the bleach marks still damp on the fabric. He sighed, already irritated. "Claire, you are being dramatic. Melissa said it was an accident. Why do you always have to create problems?" I stared at him, stunned. Melissa watched from behind him, arms crossed, wearing a smile she did not bother hiding. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell him that his sisters walked through our home like they owned it, that they mocked me every chance they got, that they hated me for reasons I still did not understand. But I said nothing. I apologized instead. "I am sorry. I should not have reacted like that." And the truth was, I had been saying sorry for so long I barely remembered what it felt like to defend myself. The next morning, our anniversary, I woke with a knot in my stomach. Ryan was already downstairs. I could hear his voice along with Jenna's and Melissa's. They were here early, which was never a good sign. I dressed in an older gown I kept for formal events. It did not fit like it used to. I had lost weight this past year so much that my collarbones looked sharp under my skin. I curled my hair and applied makeup slowly, trying to mask the exhaustion in my eyes. As I headed downstairs, my phone rang. It was Hannah, my twin sister. We used to talk every day, but Ryan had made that difficult over the years. I answered quickly. "Happy anniversary, Claire." She said it so warmly that for a moment I almost told her everything. The wine incident, the ruined dress, the silence that felt like punishment. But then Ryan called my name from the living room, his tone sharp and impatient. I panicked. "Thanks, Hannah. I have to go. Talk later." I ended the call before she could say anything more. Then I took a deep breath and walked into the living room. Ryan was pacing like he had rehearsed a speech. Jenna sat on the couch like she owned the place. Melissa leaned against the window. They all turned toward me at the same time. The air felt charged, heavy, dangerous, and in that moment I knew something was very wrong. Ryan stopped pacing when I stepped into the room. He looked me up and down slowly, examining my hair, my dress, my face, as if searching for something to criticize. Jenna crossed her legs and raised an eyebrow. Melissa folded her arms, waiting for the moment to strike. I felt their eyes on me like spotlights. "You were on the phone," Ryan said. His tone was not curious. It was accusatory, sharp enough to slice through the air. "It was just Hannah calling to say happy anniversary," I replied quietly. "Just Hannah." He repeated the words with a mocking edge. "You mean the sister who has been trying to separate us since the day we got married?" I opened my mouth to explain, but he lifted his phone. He had checked my call history again. "You talked to her 3 times this week." 3. "Why are you discussing our private issues with her?" "I was not." I said it firmly, almost desperately. "We talked about work, about her classes. Nothing about you, nothing about the family." Jenna stood up, brushing invisible lint from her dress. "She is lying. I can always tell when she is lying. She gets this little tremble in her voice." I turned toward her. "I am not lying." "Do not raise your voice at my sister," Ryan snapped. "See, this is what I mean. The attitude. Ever since the wine incident, you have been impossible." My chest tightened. "I apologized for that. I offered to pay for the cleaning. I told you it was an accident." Melissa laughed from across the room. The sound was cold and sharp. "What we want is for you to remember your place. You embarrassed us, you embarrassed Ryan, and you are still not really sorry." Something inside me cracked. I felt heat rise in my face. "I have been trying for years." I said the words louder than I intended. "I have changed myself in every way you asked. I cut off friends. I changed how I dress. I do everything to keep the peace. What else do you want from me?" Silence filled the room like smoke. Ryan moved closer, jaw tight. "There it is. The real you. Always the victim. Always looking for sympathy. You think you have sacrificed so much for this family, you want us to feel guilty for how you feel." "That is not what I said." "Shut up," he snapped. His voice was sharp enough to make me flinch. "I am tired of excuses. I am tired of your constant failures, and I am done letting you humiliate me." Jenna stepped forward. "You know what, Ryan? She needs a lesson she will not forget." Melissa nodded, her eyes bright with something cruel. My heart pounded. I backed up instinctively. Ryan looked at his sisters, then at me. "They are right. Every time you mess up, I let it go." "Not anymore. Jenna, Melissa, teach her what respect means." My voice shook. "Ryan, what does that mean? You are scaring me." "Good. Maybe if you were scared more often, you would behave better." Everything happened fast. Jenna walked up and slapped me across the face so hard my vision blurred. Before I could steady myself, Melissa shoved my shoulders. My feet slipped. The sharp edge of the coffee table rushed up toward me. I hit the floor with a crack that echoed in my skull. Warm blood slid down my temple. My left eye pulsed with pain. Ryan looked down at me with satisfaction. "Maybe now you will think before you speak." I could not move. I could barely breathe. 2 hours, I heard Jenna say. "Clean yourself up. If you ruin our anniversary dinner, you will regret it." They walked away, laughing as if nothing had happened. I dragged myself upstairs and locked the bathroom door. My reflection made me gasp. The swelling, the blood, the raw fear in my eyes. And then my phone rang. It was Hannah. I answered with shaking hands. "Hannah, please, I need you." "What happened?" Her voice sharpened instantly. I told her everything. The slap, the shove, the table, Ryan standing there, the threat, the fear. The anniversary dinner looming over me like a sentence I could not escape. Hannah cursed under her breath. "I am driving to you right now. Do not hang up. Stay with me. Tell me what you see. Tell me what hurts. I am on my way." Her voice was the first safe thing I had heard in years. She was coming. She was really coming. And for the first time that day, I felt a small spark of hope. The hour before the dinner passed in a blur. Hannah stayed on the phone the entire time, her voice steady even when mine shook. She told me how to breathe, how to dab the makeup so it looked like I was trying but not truly hiding anything. She reminded me that none of this was my fault. That I was not crazy. That what happened in that living room was real and dangerous. By the time Ryan knocked on the bathroom door, my eye was swollen so badly I could barely open it. I heard Jenna laughing downstairs, telling someone that I was taking forever because she cannot handle anything. Ryan's voice cut through the door. "We are leaving in 10 minutes. Do not make me wait." I whispered to Hannah that I had to go. She told me she was an hour away. She would be there before dessert. "Just hold on. And Claire, keep your phone with you. Record if you can." I slipped the phone into my pocket. The drive to the restaurant felt like sitting in a car with strangers. Jenna and Melissa took selfies in the back seat, making dramatic sad faces, as if mocking my swollen eye. Every few minutes one of them would say something like, "You should be more careful around furniture, or maybe this will finally teach you some grace." Ryan gripped the steering wheel tightly. He glanced over at me once, his eyes cold. "Remember the story, you were rushing, you fell. You do not embarrass this family tonight." I said nothing. I stared out the window, focusing on streetlights passing by like blinking signals of escape. When we arrived, the restaurant manager greeted us warmly and led us toward the private dining room. I could hear laughter spilling from inside, people who loved celebrations and anniversaries, people who had no idea what they were about to witness. Ryan paused at the entrance. He adjusted his shirt, straightened his shoulders, and positioned his arm around me again like he was guiding me into a spotlight. His grip on my shoulder tightened. "Smile." Then he pushed the door open. Conversation died instantly. Guests turned, champagne glasses lifted halfway before freezing in midair. My mother gasped, hand flying to her mouth. My father nearly knocked over his chair as he stood. My co-workers blinked in confusion. Ryan's business partners stared with open shock. Ryan beamed like he had won an award. "Claire had a little accident today," he said casually. "Nothing serious, just clumsy as usual." He tightened his grip, pulling me a fraction closer. But actually Jenna and Melissa helped teach her a bit of respect earlier. Silence spread across the room like oil. Then the door behind us slammed open. The sound was so loud it echoed off the walls. Everyone turned. Hannah stood in the doorway. Her hair was messy from driving with the windows down. Her jeans were dusty. Her leather jacket looked out of place among cocktail dresses and suits. But her eyes, sharp, focused, burning with a fury I had not seen since we were kids and someone pushed me on a playground. She started walking toward us. People stepped out of her way without being asked. Ryan spoke first, voice tight. "Hannah, this is a private event." Hannah ignored him. She looked at my face, at the swelling, the cut, the bruised cheek. Her jaw tightened so hard I thought she might crack a tooth. Then she turned to Ryan. "You let them do this to her." He opened his mouth, but she cut him off. "I heard everything." She tapped her phone. "And so did everyone here." A ripple of whispers moved through the room. Hannah stepped in front of me, shoulders squared like a shield. "Tell them, Ryan. Tell everyone what Jenna and Melissa did." Jenna sputtered. "You do not know what you are talking about." Claire exaggerated. "She always does." Hannah turned slowly toward her. "Did you slap her?" Jenna froze. "2 minutes ago your brother bragged about it," Hannah said. "So tell the truth. Did you hit her?" Jenna's face went pale. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Hannah nodded once, like she expected that answer. Then she moved. The room stayed completely still as Hannah closed the distance between herself and Jenna. No one breathed, no one shifted. Even the server standing by the wall froze in place. Jenna took a half step back, clutching her champagne glass like a shield. "Do not come near me," she said, her voice trembling. "You cannot just walk in here and..." Hannah's hand moved so fast most people missed it. A single sharp slap cracked through the room like someone had snapped a board in half. Jenna stumbled sideways, dropping her glass as it shattered against the floor. Her hand flew to her cheek, her eyes wide with disbelief. "That," Hannah said evenly, "is exactly what you did to Claire. Except you thought it was funny when you did it. You thought hurting her made you powerful." Jenna stared at her, stunned, tears forming in the corners of her eyes. The entire room watched in silence. A few guests covered their mouths. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Melissa lunged forward. "You crazy woman," Melissa yelled as she charged toward Hannah with both hands raised. But Hannah had taught self-defense for 8 years. She did not fight dirty. She did not swing wildly. She simply stepped aside at the exact right moment, letting Melissa's own momentum carry her forward. With a small guiding push on Melissa's shoulder, Hannah redirected her. Melissa collided with the edge of the buffet table, hitting her temple on the corner before dropping to the floor with a painful thud. She groaned, grabbing the side of her face. When she pulled her hand away, there was a smear of blood across her fingers. A bruise was already blooming along her brow bone, swelling quickly. A collective gasp swept across the room. "Now you know what that feels like," Hannah said quietly. "The shock, the pain, the fear. the loss of control. You did that to Claire, and you laughed about it." Melissa stared at her, stunned and suddenly small. "Ryan found his voice at last. Someone call the police. She attacked my family. You all saw it." Hannah lifted her phone high so everyone could see the red recording icon. "I have been recording since the moment I walked in. This entire room heard you admit that Jenna and Melissa attacked Claire earlier today. They heard you say you were proud of it. They heard your sisters brag. And every person here just watched Melissa charge at me first." A wave of murmurs moved through the guests. Several people nodded. Others whispered that they had heard him say exactly that. Ryan's face flushed red. "You are twisting the story," he snapped. "Claire fell. She always does things like this. She makes up stories. She is unstable." The room reacted immediately. A few guests shook their heads. Claire's mother let out a wounded sound. Hannah stepped toward Ryan, her voice steady. "Do not lie. Not here. Not tonight. You wanted everyone to see what you did. You wanted to show how much control you had over her. But now they see the truth." Ryan clenched his jaw and moved toward her, hand rising slightly like he might grab her arm. Hannah did not flinch. "Touch me," she said calmly, "and I will put you on the floor next. And unlike you, I do not hit people who are already down." Ryan froze. Hannah looked around the room, addressing everyone. "This is what abuse looks like. Not always broken bones. Sometimes it is isolation, humiliation, control. And sometimes when no one is watching, it becomes physical. Claire is not clumsy. She did not fall. She was hurt by people who believed they could do anything without consequences." Then she stepped aside, revealing me fully to the room. "Look at her," Hannah said. "Look at what they did." No one looked away. The truth, at last, was impossible to ignore. After Hannah exposed everything in front of 50 witnesses, the room dissolved into chaos. People whispered in tight circles. Chairs scraped. A woman dabbed at her eyes. My mother rushed toward me, tears spilling down her cheeks, while my father placed himself between Ryan and me like a wall made of quiet fury. Hannah moved closer, checking my injuries gently. Her voice softened when she spoke to me. "I am here. You are safe. You are going home with us?" Ryan stepped forward, his voice cracking with anger. "She is not going anywhere. Claire is my wife." My father straightened, blocking him with a calm he rarely used. "If you touch either of my daughters, you will deal with me. And son, I promise you do not want that." Then he reached into his jacket and handed Hannah a thick envelope. "What is this?" Hannah asked. "Everything we have collected for the last 2 years," my father said, still staring Ryan down. "Photos, notes, recordings, statements from neighbors. We knew something was wrong. We were just waiting for Claire to be ready to leave." My knees nearly gave out. My parents had seen the signs I worked so hard to hide. They had spent 2 years building a safety net I never knew I needed. Melissa was still on the floor, holding a napkin to her forehead. Jenna sniffled beside her, stunned by the turn of events. Ryan's face shifted from anger to panic as he looked around the room. His business partners stared back at him, horrified and silent. He had lost the room. The mask he had worn for years had finally cracked open. Hannah placed a steadying hand on my back. "We are leaving now." Ryan moved to follow, but my father stepped closer. "Try to stop her," he said quietly, "and you will regret it." We walked out of the restaurant together, the 4 of us, leaving behind the life I thought I had to endure. The next morning, with Hannah at my side, I filed for a protective order against Ryan, Jenna, and Melissa. The judge took one look at my injuries and listened to a short recording Hannah had captured before the confrontation. He approved the order immediately. From there, everything moved quickly. Our attorney used the video from the dinner and the documentation my parents had collected. The evidence was overwhelming. Ryan tried to argue I had fallen, but he had made the fatal mistake of bragging in front of a room full of witnesses. His story crumbled. Jenna and Melissa were charged with assault. They tried to claim they acted in self-defense, but too many people heard them laughing earlier. Too many people heard Ryan say they taught me respect. In the end, both women accepted probation, community service, and mandatory anger management. Ryan's business reputation took a major blow. Several partners pulled away quietly. A few clients canceled contracts. His public image, once polished and admired, dimmed under the weight of the truth. As for me, I moved into a small apartment near Hannah's gym. For the first time in years, the walls around me felt like they belonged to me. I slept with the window open. I started painting again. I returned to teaching. I laughed with friends I had been too afraid to call for years. Healing was not immediate. It came in small moments. A morning with no fear, a night without rehearsed excuses, a day where my reflection looked like someone I recognized. There were still nights when I woke up shaking, but every time Hannah's voice echoed in my mind. You are safe. Keep going. You are building a life that belongs to you now. And I believed her. 6 months later, I stood in my small apartment near downtown Austin, sunlight pouring across the kitchen counter where I had set up my little art space. My life looked nothing like it did before, and every quiet morning felt like a gift I was still learning how to unwrap. I had gained back the weight I lost. My cheeks were no longer hollow. My eyes looked rested instead of hunted. I taught at a nearby elementary school and spent my evenings helping at Hannah's self-defense classes. At first I joined because Hannah insisted it would help me feel stronger. Now I stayed because each lesson reminded me that my body was mine again. One evening, as I finished cleaning brushes from a painting I had been working on, my phone buzzed. It was a message from a woman named Erin Parker. She had been at the anniversary dinner that night. We had exchanged no words at the time, but apparently she had recognized something familiar in my injuries, something that mirrored her own life. Her message was simple. Claire, I saw what happened to you. I think I might need help too. I do not know where to start. I sat down slowly, letting her words settle. Erin explained that she had endured years of emotional manipulation, long silences used as punishment, and unpredictable anger from her husband. Seeing Hannah confront my reality had shaken her. It made her realize she did not have to wait for things to get worse before taking action. I typed back. I can meet you at the Main Street coffee shop tomorrow at 2. You are not alone. After sending it, I stared at my phone for a long moment. 6 months ago I could not stand up for myself. Now another woman saw me as someone steady enough to lean on. That change felt almost overwhelming. As I prepared for bed, I replayed the events of that night at the restaurant, the silence when we walked in, the shock on every face, Jenna's disbelief when Hannah slapped her, Melissa's stumble, Ryan's expression when his control evaporated. Some people might call what Hannah did revenge. They might say she should have called the police first. They might claim that meeting violence with force is wrong. But those people have never sat alone in a bathroom pressing makeup over a bruise and rehearsing excuses. They have never been told that their pain was drama. They have never tried to survive in a home where fear lived in every corner. That night was not about revenge. It was about truth. It was about finally forcing people to see what had been invisible for years. And it was the night I found the courage I thought I had lost forever. Before turning off the lamp, I whispered the same words I had once heard from Hannah. Keep going, you are building a life you deserve. If you are watching this and any part of my story feels familiar, please talk to someone you trust. Ask for help. You do not have to wait for a bruise to say enough. And if you want more stories that explore real relationships, difficult choices, and the strength it takes to start over, feel free to like this video, share it with someone who might need it, and tell me in the comments where you are watching from. You never know who might read your words and feel a little less alone.